Welcome to our explainer. Today, we're going to dive into the life of a man whose name is basically a synonym for sacrifice in India's freedom struggle. His story, it's just this powerful, almost unbelievable account of incredible personal loss fueling this unwavering commitment to the public good. So let's get right into it.
We're starting with the words that really defined Gopabandhu Das. And look, this wasn't just some nice-sounding poetic phrase. This was his promise, his personal mission statement that guided pretty much every single thing he did. It's a vow of complete and total self-sacrifice for his nation. So who was this man, really? And why is he still so revered, especially in the state of Odisha as the jewel of Utkal? Well, the title they gave him, Utkalmani, says it all. You could call him a social worker, a reformer, a political activist, a journalist, a poet, but all those things were just different sides of the same mission, serving his people. And this title, it wasn't given to him by some government or king, it was earned. It came straight from the people he gave his life to. Now, his incredible character wasn't built in a life of ease and comfort. No, it was forged in the twin fires of constant public service and just immense personal tragedy. And his story is as heartbreaking as it is inspiring. So let's go back to the beginning, to his village of Suando. From a really young age, two things set him on his path. One was a teacher who drilled into him the idea of service, and the other, a cholera outbreak. Now, Gopabandhu saw how badly the authorities handled it, and as a teenager, he didn't just sit around and complain. He actually started a volunteer group to go help the victims. Right from the start, it was action, not apathy, for him. But very, very soon, his commitment to that ideal was about to face the most unimaginable test. A test that most of us, thankfully, will never have to face.
Just try to wrap your head around this. You're out there in the middle of a flood zone, helping people who have lost absolutely everything. And then you get a message. Your own child is dying. What do you do? Faced with that impossible choice between his own family and the larger family of his people, Gopabandhu made a decision that would define the rest of his life. These were his actual words. I mean, it's just a heartbreaking look into his incredible sense of duty. He stayed, and his son passed away. That one single moment tells you everything you need to know about his philosophy of sacrifice. And what's just gut-wrenching is that this wasn't some isolated tragedy. This timeline, it shows a life just hit by a constant, crushing wave of sorrow. He lost both his parents, he lost that first son, and then get this, on the very same day he gets the news that he passed his law exams, he finds out his wife has died. He was only 28, and eventually all three of his sons passed away. Now, most people would just break under that kind of weight. Who wouldn't? But instead of breaking, Gopabandhu channeled all of that immense grief into this revolutionary mission, to build a new generation of Indians who wouldn't have to suffer like his did. He looked at the British education system and thought, nope, this is just designed to create a bunch of clerks, cogs in the colonial machine. So in 1909, he started his own school with a totally different idea. It was called the Satyabadi Vana Vidyalaya, the school in the forest. And this wasn't just about reading and writing. It was a form of protest, a way to build a new nation from the ground up, one independent mind at a time. And his vision here was just incredible. His school, it had no walls. You had kids from all castes learning together, eating together, living together, all under the open sky. And the whole curriculum was built around these ideas, fighting things like casteism, learning actual practical skills, respecting hard work, and developing a real deep love for their own culture. The whole point was to create self-reliant, patriotic citizens. But you know, a school can only reach so many people. To make his mission bigger, Gopabandhu stepped onto a much larger stage, using journalism and politics as his tools to fight for his people. His political career is like a masterclass in how to take a local cause and make it a national issue. He starts by fighting for his home state. Then he becomes the first president of the Congress Party in Odisha. And he's the guy who brings Mahatma Gandhi to the region. His influence just grows and grows until he becomes the vice president of the National Servants of the People Society. And here's what was so brilliant. He understood the power of the press long before many others did. He started the Samaja, not to make a profit, but to use it as a tool. He wrote it in simple, everyday language, and it became his megaphone, carrying the message of freedom and social change to every single corner of Odisha.
Of course, when you speak truth to power like that, you often end up in jail. And he did. But did that silence him? No way. From behind bars, he wrote some of his most powerful stuff, poems and an autobiography that became iconic texts of the freedom struggle. He literally turned his prison cell into a writer's workshop. You know, his life was cut tragically short, but his impact, his legacy, it's still so deeply woven into the soul of Odisha and of India. I mean, when another giant of the freedom struggle, a man like Subhash Chandra Bose, calls you the father of the national movement in your state, that says it all. That's a testament from one legend about another, and it just perfectly captures his incredible influence. At the end of the day, his legacy isn't really in statues or monuments. It's in the very fabric of society that he fought to create. He was so ahead of his time, fighting untouchability, pushing for widow remarriage, demanding education for women. And in his final act of service, he didn't leave his newspaper to his family. He gave it to the people. And this right here, this number, it just perfectly sums up the central theme of his life. He died at just 50 years old. And how? He got sick while he was in Lahore, raising money for flood victims back in his home state. He died exactly as he lived, in selfless service to others. So the life of Gopabandhu Das doesn't just tell us a story, it kind of leaves us with this huge fundamental question. His life is this powerful and, frankly, challenging meditation on what sacrifice really means and what the purpose of a well-lived life really is. It's a standard of service that very few could ever hope to meet, but it's one we can all be inspired by.